Hello and welcome to another MILSURP HQ podcast. I'm Tom, and as always, joined by my main man Kelly. What's up? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Welcome back, everyone.
So, give us a quick update. It's early February. Is it 100 degrees in Texas again?
Getting there. I think we got about a month left before it melts.
So, today we have another fun one for everyone, as we'll be discussing some recent and upcoming war movies, and also BS a little too about some of the film topics we love and hate and all that. Because we are the quote-unquote MILSURP headquarters, we'll also point out the MILSURP use and accuracy in the films that we see. But on that note, let's clear up the scope because there's so many movies out there. Let's explain the criteria quick. There's thousands of movies, from movies about cavemen to movies about aliens, and we're going to narrow it down to, don't be shocked, to primarily we're going to focus on the movies set in the historical periods associated with our MILSURP firearms in our collections. So selfishly, mid to late 19th century through the 1950s, little cheating here and there. So that's mostly World War I and World War II movies. And I'm sure Kelly agrees that the Civil War, Vietnam, Korea, they need their own show.
Oh yeah. Everything outside of the two big ones, those can be another show. But there's plenty to discuss within this realm.
Yeah, not today. We're fine with World War I and World War II. And lastly, because we're a MILSURP firearm podcast, we're also going to try to stick to the movies that actually show and use MILSURP firearms. So I was talking to my wife about it, and she was bringing up a bunch of movies, The Pianist and Oppenheimer, and they don't have enough MILSURP in them. So we're gonna leave those out, I think.
Yeah, I think that's good approach.
Yeah, we're a MILSURP show. Let's talk about movies with MILSURP. All right, I yapped enough, I think. So Kelly, who do we have on the show today?
So today we have two very special guests. They are two of our Patreons, which I just found out last episode that we had a Patreon. But I am happy to introduce Dylan and Nick. Thank you both for joining.
Hey. How we doing?
Yeah, thanks, guys.
This will be fun, and of course, we always like to ask our guests, like, what kind of collector are you? Are you like a pattern collector or a variety collector? And like, what kind of era do you focus on, or anything like that?
So I collect stuff from like 1850s to the 1950s, pretty like rifles mainly. So all over the place, kind of.
Nice.
That's perfect for this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm basically the same thing. Anywhere from the 1850s up to the 1950s. I'm kind of expanded a little more further into like the 80s and 90s now. Gonna start doing a lot more clone builds, like on ARs, different things like that. Kind of work with those, but kind of really expanding more of my Japanese right now. I've been getting some interesting Japanese stuff here recently. So
cool. And you that's funny. You're moving forward. I pictured you to be moving backwards.
Yeah, a lot more stuff's getting expensive the further back you go. So I figure let's stay a little cheaper.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, 1890s or 1990s?
Yeah. Oh yeah, no 1990s. Like I'm looking at doing maybe like some Black Hawk Down clones, stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Nice. I love a good clone build.
Yep.
And none of us have gone into the Flintlocks, though, it seems.
I want to. I can't right now. Black powder is not the cheapest stuff in the world to get.
Nope.
All right, so these guys are pretty much perfect for the show here. This is what they collect, and that's pretty much what I collect. And Kelly is started as a World War I collector, but he's starting to spread every which way.
Oh yeah, I started as everything, and then I narrowed down to World War I. And now I'm kind of getting to where all the World War I stuff is expensive, so now I'm branching out a bit more.
So to give the listeners an idea of what type of movie reviewers we are and like what we enjoy watching, I have a couple lists of some popular war movies that we'll quickly run through, see if we're on the same page or even in the same book, because if one of you hated Saving Private Ryan, the listeners would know to ignore every other opinion you had.
So get your bad opinions out now.
Right. So it could be important to know what you like. But, what if one of you has found 1917 one-dimensional? The listeners who agree with that will then want to know that you're their guy to listen to. But we'll probably like most of these. All right, so there's only 6 here. I'm going to just read them out here. And I want you to think of the first scene that comes to mind when you hear it, because I have in my head that the most iconic movies have memorable scenes that just pop into your head as soon as you hear the name. Like Saving Private Ryan, I said it before, and I thought of 15 scenes right away. So think of what comes to mind, and if nothing comes to mind, maybe it's not that good. Maybe you don't like it. So, Enemy at the Gates, Fury, Dunkirk, Hacksaw Ridge, Das Boot, the 81. I know there's a couple, and Saving Private Ryan was at the top. I got this list from talking to some friends and looking online and compiling a bunch of lists together. So these are them. So Saving Private Ryan, that's kind of we all know what everything comes to mind for that one. But what comes to mind for anyone see Hacksaw Ridge? Let's say.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. Scenes that come to mind are obviously like the guy going up and down and lowering the injured guys, and hands rub raw, and then he's dragging Vince Vaughn at some point, and he's like firing the Thompson backwards.
Right. That was that's the story of the Army medic Desmond Doss, who refused to pick up a weapon, but he was still a medic, and in that crazy battle that he was, like he just said, was climbing the wall and carrying back. That was memorable. And it was Mel Gibson directed it, so I did remember that. But did anyone not like any of these movies?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh yeah? Was there anything in particular?
There's just something about it that I didn't really like. I can't put my finger on it.
All right, and that got an 8.1, which is pretty high for these IMDb ratings. I've seen a lot of them lately, but I'm kind of with you. I don't mention Hacksaw Ridge and recommend it when people ask me for World War II. It's not really the first ones that come to mind.
Yeah, it was a little slower. I think it really only had like one big battle scene. That was about it.
That scene you described.
Yeah, exactly.
And Nick, what'd you say? Which one?
If I were to do something, I'd flip Dunkirk and Enemy at the Gates. Personally, Dunkirk. I've done some research here recently, and a lot of that reading on stuff from Dunkirk. There was over 100,000 guys there. What did we have? Maybe 5,000 on the beach. We couldn't do some CGI and put more people on the beach, and it wasn't standing in a perfectly straight line. It was mass chaos, stuff like that. And I kind of looked at, like, they kind of disappointed they didn't put more of the French soldier in there. You only see it in that first little scene.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Enemy at the Gates is pretty good. It's more of a, I see why it gets such a low rating. It's more of a love story type thing.
Right. That's definitely the thing bringing it down. Is the love story part of it is kind of like half the movie when you really think about it.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't watch it for the love scene. I watch it for the gunplay, because the gunplay is great in it.
Right. I agree. And when you have little children watching with you, you kind of you skip the love scenes and go right to the shooting and killing scenes.
Yep. It's the American way.
That, and then Fury. If Fury didn't have so many, I would say, laser beams almost in it, I think it'd be higher.
Yeah.
But the tracers look too much like laser beams. It's like,
it had
really?
a few tactical issues as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Fury was the guy who wrote Suicide Squad and Training Day, which is interesting. But Fury is another one. It was entertaining, but there's something frustrating about it. Like, I don't like when people give up at the end, even if it's for honor and valiant. I'd rather you die getting away than taking up a stand that you know you're gonna lose. So I didn't like the end of it, but it was entertaining throughout.
Yeah.
All right, so Enemy at the Gates. Everyone has to like that sniping scene in the beginning there. That has to be his time in the shots and.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Oh yeah,
right. Takes out 5 guys, guy showering and all that. So that was good. And did we say Fury had a memorable scene? I guess the last stand is memorable. I don't know. It's
that one, and then the one where they're going up against the tiger. That one's always pretty memorable, I think.
And Dunkirk was, I don't know, it was just all right for me.
I think when they were trying to do too much going between the different things, between the pilot, between on the beaches, and between on that boat, it just was too much, I think, sometimes.
I did like the sound of Dunkirk a lot. I remember the sound was
agree.
pretty good.
Well, Dunkirk was Christopher Nolan, Batman Begins, Interstellar, and Oppenheimer, which I think he just won some award for that. So yeah, he's a master at that. So, but it didn't feel like a Christopher Nolan like movie. It felt it was a little dull. I don't know. Like if I of these 6 movies, of course I'm recommending Private Ryan. Das Boot is a classic if you want to know anything. If you want to see anything about submarines, that's the one to go to. Don't fiddle with the other ones.
Yeah.
But besides Enemy at the Gates, I'm not sure I'm touching the other 3. I don't know.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
And Das Boot, that was the first time I saw the craziness of of running through a submarine. I remember as a kid, and I couldn't believe that that's what I thought that was like fake. I remember asking my dad if that was real. It was that small.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's how small it is.
Yeah, I remember the scene where they're just kind of uncontrollably sinking, and there's nothing they can do about it except watch the gauge. I just remember how stressful that was, hearing it and stuff.
I think I'm claustrophobic to this day because of that. All right, the majority of the World War II movies we don't hate them, but we're finding them 3 of the 6 to be dull. So let's just quickly go to the World War One list, and if you're talking about dull, 4 of the 6 of these are at pretty much the same kind of location. You have Warhorse, which is a 7.2, Gallipoli. To all the guys yelling, yes, I said it wrong. I get corrected later. I'll explain. Which we just oh wait, that was off the podcast. We watched the sequel to that, I guess. Gallipoli had a 7.4. Sergeant York with a 7.7. 1917, 8.2. Lawrence of Arabia, 8.3. And Paths of Glory by Stanley Kubrick and Kirk Douglas got an 8.4. And it's the best World War One movie out there, according to everything. Oh, I'm leaving out the All Quiet on the Western Fronts, which are below Paths of Glory, but they're just up there.
We'll get to those.
But we'll get to those later because one just came out. So any of these someone hasn't seen, because these are more likely you haven't seen them. We have a 1941 movie. We have 1962
Yeah, I've only seen
movie.
clips of Sergeant York.
Yeah, there's, let's see, I think the 1 or 2 I haven't seen. I haven't seen Sergeant York. I actually haven't seen Paths of Glory, which is on my list to watch. So ashamed as a World War One collector.
Yeah, it's a weird movie. It's supposed to be serious, but I just recently watched it, and it was a strange movie. It was good, dramatic, and I could see why it shows war is terrible. But
Yeah,
for
a movie made in the 50s, it's like really I don't know, it's pretty cool. The camera work is pretty good. Just an old movie. It's like one of the first like immersive war movies.
right, the people think it's real. People were taking clips of it now, thinking that was real World War One footage. So Lawrence of Arabia is the only one of these that's really different part of World War One. So that to me is my favorite here, as far as because it's how different it is. I've seen The Trench so many times, going back to the first All Quiet on the Western Front.
Mm-hmm.
So to see fighting in the turkey fighting, and that was amazing, and to see a lot of cavalry fighting and on camels, it was amazing.
Yep.
So that one gets that gets its due credit. 1917 was the Sam Mendes directed, the guy who did American Beauty, a Jarhead though, and everyone talks about that, right? That one single shot trench scene that they filmed.
Well, the whole movie was supposed to be like a single camera shot.
Right, like that
Right.
fake single shot. So that's memorable. But was it a gimmick, or is it a true movie? Do you recommend it?
I mean,
Yeah,
it's good.
yeah, it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I mean that's the majority of the movies that I see. That we're talking about. It's worth the watch, but I'm not recommending them as good. So that's weird because I'm recommending you watch them, but I'm not recommending. If you're a fan of the era, if you're a fan of the war, if you're a fan of movies, if you're there's so many reasons to watch it, but they're not great movies. It's pretty funny.
Right.
Sergeant York I did see, and it's very cheesy. It's a 40s cheesy movie, and he's quirky, but there's a lot of great scenes with the 1903 Springfield. There's like a lot. Like one guy reads off the serial numbers of one of the guns. That'd be cool if you had that one.
But he used a 1917.
Well, he was in the train. It was his boot camp.
Yeah.
and it was like a family movie. So I don't know how it's on the best list ever, but it is. And Gallipoli just is another one, trench warfare, but it's in Australia. So if you ever want to see how they fought, it looks a lot like how the Germans were fighting the French and the British over there. But the ending was terrible. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a very frustrating ending.
Oh no, do the Australians lose?
No, not the, just the what happens to everyone involved in this movie. And what about Warhorse? Anyone see this one?
It's all right.
I have not seen that one yet.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a lot, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Like, I don't know what I thought, but with Spielberg attached and all this, I don't know. You're expecting a little cheesiness maybe, but there was some brutal war in that,
Yep.
and some real good fighting and lots of good MILSURP to look at in that one.
I will say, if somebody wants to watch something on Gallipoli,
Yeah, I
there's
keep
a
saying Gallipoli because my friend in school was Jimmy Gallipoli, but hey,
I would watch the series. I think it's a Prime series, or I don't remember who put it out, but it's a whole like 10-part series on Gallipoli.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
is it
remember
called?
It's called, I think, Gallipoli. I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
well, I didn't know anything about the whole story, so just seeing anything from what the Australians are up to was great. So I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's a very forgotten part of the war because it
Oh,
was
yeah.
so far away from everything else, and so
And all these Turkish Mousers that are so cheap, you get to see them in action right there.
yeah.
And let's see here. So all the movies that people are considering the top movies, we're like, yeah, all right. Nothing's been thrilling yet, huh?
No.
Yeah, World War One's been slept on in media for years.
Yeah, that sucks. When 1917 came out, there were documentaries that came out. There was behind the scenes of how they made the movie. Everything was trench warfare and World War One fighting, no man's land. And when I looked at like the top list of World War One movies, like 90% was no man's land shit. So that's bringing us to our next segment where I gripe a minute on topics I am sick of. And the first one, no surprise, is trench warfare, no man's land, the same thing over and over. You put your head up, you get killed. Eventually they go, let's blow the whistle and go over. I don't know why. The standing, getting trench foot, it sucks in there. So I'm curious if how do you guys feel? Nick, you go first. Do you feel keep them coming or enough is enough? We've seen it, 1917, Paths of Glory.
I think it really depends on the movie. Really, that's where I look at it. I don't want to see whole movies kind of like 1917 and stuff like that, where it's the whole movie kind of that way. But if there's certain spots, like I look at, kind of a great point going off, like Kingsman, the new Kingsman that came out about the World War One time period.
Right.
You had that spurts where they would go in the trenches. That I understand. Kind of still bring it in, but not when the whole movie's in the
Right,
trenches,
right.
no man's land, stuff like that. But
I did like, yeah, and I did like that one for that reason. It wasn't, I said, oh shit, we're in no man's land again, but they left no man's land.
actually, jump back to the list, a movie that I forget about and it kind of popped back in my head is Flyboys with James Franco. That's actually a pretty good movie.
Well, I think I didn't see it because it was James Franco, to be honest. But I'll
It's
check
not
it out.
bad.
I really think that was the reason. All right, Dylan, what about you? Do you want to,
Well-
are you sick of them or keep them coming?
Well, I wish they would do like the whole trench warfare thing justice, because they like spend all this time or money and stuff on movies about it, but they don't like focus on like actual battles. It's just like made up drama they seem to make in these movies. Like in 1917, for instance, it's a pretty good example of that. It's like World War One movies that aren't really about World War One.
Yep,
Right.
I definitely agree with that. And like, if it's like the focus of it and they're like doing it properly, I could dig that.
But every time someone makes another bad one, that's one that they could have made something a good one.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Well, that's a World War One problem. My World War Two problem is I hate to say it, but I've seen Normandy stormed, uh, The Longest Day, Private Ryan, D-Day, Storm and Juno. I was looking at a list and I was like, I've seen all these. I've seen it 50 times. I've seen Normandy and the storming of the beaches. And not only that, I've played video games, like 30 different video games where I literally storm the beach. So
Oh yeah.
I'm done on that. Kelly, you're done on that?
Yeah, I think Saving Private Ryan got that one in the bag, so can move on to other topics. There's plenty in World War II that has been not explored yet.
Yep.
I'm gonna get to experience going there in real life here in June, so
Nice.
Oh, wow. You storming the beach?
I won't be storming beach, but I'll actually be on the beaches for the 80th anniversary. I'll be over in
Whoa.
France, so it's kind of a once in a lifetime trip. We're like, hey, might as well.
That's awesome. When you tell people you're going to the beach and they go, what beach? Private Ryan's a pretty good movie to show them. Like that beach right there.
Yeah.
And well, I have some beef against parts of the Saving Private Ryan scenes, but especially
On the
scenes.
beach?
The beach scenes. I
Uh-oh.
will say I have a little bit of beef. They didn't have the super tall machine gun bunker towers.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They were not that big. Some of the video games, they weren't that big. They were more built into the earthwork.
That looked
Your
good for the
normal
movie,
bunker.
though.
Exactly. And that's for the movie, I understand it, but I've been doing so much research and I watch a ton of videos. The bunker systems were maybe 20 feet tall at most. They weren't the 50, 100 feet tall like you see them in the movies.
Wow.
Once-
And actually, they weren't even as high. Hillsides, depending on where you're at, parts of Omaha and Utah Beach are no more than a 20-foot rise from the beach to the top of the mainland area. So, now Point de Hawk's a different story. Be cool to see a movie about Point de Hawk. So,
There
I
you
don't
go.
think we've
See?
had one.
Yeah.
And I'm still a fan of when they have the other perspectives in there, even if it's, some people don't want subtitles. I heard there was a bunch of people online. If it has subtitles, I'm out. It's like, it's cool to hear the enemy reacting in their native language in a high pressure scene,
Mm.
So I like when they mix it up and show you the Germans. But after playing it in video games where I've played hours where I'm getting out of the boat and I'm get halfway up the beach and get killed and then I'm restarting so I could dream it now like I was there. Plus all the documentaries going back to when I was a kid. That's just one topic I don't want anyone else wasting time doing.
So D-Day and Stalingrad are probably the most overdone World War II topics, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we really haven't had a good area on Africa Corps yet. You've had spurts of it, like in Patton had a good one, a decent scene of that. Valkyrie, we had the opening scene where he was in North Africa, but other than that, really, we haven't had any North Africa that I can think of.
Yeah, I think there's maybe one movie from the British perspective on that. I think it's from like the 50s or 60s. I don't remember exactly.
I remember a TV show called Rat Patrol that was like really popular about the SAS in North Africa.
Yeah, I tried to watch a couple episodes on Amazon Prime, and it was like the first 2 episodes were free, but then you had to pay for them. Like, no, I'm not paying. It's not that good.
Yeah, I don't know much besides, has Rommel been portrayed in anything?
Barely. He'd be a good one to do something on.
Yeah, I don't really hear
Yeah.
anything, so that'd be nice. And
That would span World War One and World War II.
right. And spoiler, I asked ChatGPT some of these questions, and they did not bring up Africa or Rommel.
Wow.
There was a movie on Rommel.
Oh,
I don't know if it's a show, it's a TV movie. It's in 2012 called Rommel.
well, for the last 2 years, we've been grabbing movie titles and everything, and no one ever mentions it. So like these movies, they're hidden so well that they're not on websites, they're not on forums, they're not on YouTube videos. I feel bad for the people that made the damn movie.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other things you're sick of seeing? We'll get into a little later some more of the some things you want to see, but I'm not sure what else.
There has been a lot of pilot movies, I feel like.
Well, it's not going to get better.
A lot of dogfighting. that kind of thing.
And, yeah, my problem with those was no matter how hard they tried, it's not fluid enough that I'm following in this. You know what I mean? Like it's switching back and forth in a weird way that I'm not really feeling a part of the battle.
They always have a lot of added drama too. It seems like.
Yeah.
Are they ever going to run out of fuel and not make it? All right.
I'm trying to think of the. I think I think it's the Devotion. I don't know if you guys watch that one.
Oh, the
It's
one in Belarus.
Korean War.
Oh no.
Or no, it's
Ooh.
Korea. Yeah.
No.
I
But
don't remember
that's one the AI said doesn't get done enough. The Korean War, and that's true.
Oh yeah.
that. Oh
You know,
yeah.
I,
But
I,
the
I just started
pilot, yeah.
watching videos on it, and I didn't realize how much fighting actually went on there, and how much the
Yeah.
Chinese were involved. So I'd
Yeah,
love to
that
see
one
that.
on Korean War wasn't bad. That Devotion. It just. I remember I went and saw it in theaters. It ended a little differently than I thought it would.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, oh, I don't want to ruin the whole thing, but I'm like, oh, he crashes. Oh, we try to save him. Oh, movie over. I'm like, okay. Not how I thought that would end, but okay.
But the actual like flying and air combat scenes were pretty good, I thought.
Yeah.
Devotion. I just saw the thing. I didn't see it, but I'll put it on my list. I did hear of it. All right. So looks like we still need more epic war movies to come out. Even if we make Private Ryan a 10, there's not many other ones that make it up to Private Ryan.
Oh, that's the other topic I'm kind of sick of. Special forces. It seems like every movie is all about some sort of special forces somewhere doing something.
Well, how else are you going to get a B-list actor into a movie if he's not ex-special forces guy in there
Yeah,
or
I've done it
something?
always special forces this and special forces that. Like, we get it. They did
Wrestlers.
They did a lot of cool stuff, but sometimes the perspective of just the average soldier is kind of more interesting.
Well, that's the funny thing about Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers.
Yep.
And they were basically the special forces of the day. The Rangers and the Airborne were, in a
Yep.
way, the special forces of World War II. So it's like that you really kind of have to include those at that point too. It's like,
Yeah, I
so.
do.
And there was a period of sniper movies that there was like sniper special ops and also like a series, like a special ops : blah blah blah. And I was getting annoyed at seeing all those pop up on Netflix for a while, but they seem to have stopped. But I'll look at most anything, even if it's like I'm saying I'm bitching about trench warfare and Normandy, but if a really cool one comes out, I'm still gonna check it out. I'm gonna complain through it, but I'm gonna check it out. All right, so let's get back on to the topic of the show here more, the current movies. So we talked about some of the ones we liked and didn't like, and some other movies we liked and that. So you know where we stand as movie reviewers. We're not movie reviewers, but I have another list here of the recent movies that just came out that I asked more friends, collectors. Again, I went on the websites, YouTube channels, and they're supposed to be good movies, but I'm not so sure. They're talked about a lot. So we'll see if they're good or not. And we're not going to do reviews like Siskel and Ebert, which to you young guys, those are movie reviewers from the 80s. I don't know if you know those two. We're just going to say if we saw, if we liked it and all that. So here we go.
That's before my time.
Yeah, they were big in the 80s. You older folks are going to go, Siskel and Ebert. Thumbs up. I get it. So first up is the Netflix release of Blood and Gold. Now, we rewatched the trailer to this one before, and what I want to note is there weren't a lot of, how do I say, there wasn't a lot of big box office smashes. There was a lot of B movies, a lot of foreign movies that came out, and we just watched the trailer for Blood and Gold, which is about this German soldier who defects and tries to go find his daughter, and with the help of the enemy. Did anyone see this? Did it grab you enough that you guys saw it?
I have not seen it, but from the trailer, I mean, it looks pretty actiony. It looks like a decent amount of MILSURP, so might as well.
All right, Dylan, what about you?
Yeah, I did watch it, and
Ooh.
it's interesting.
Wow. Let's say we did 10 grenades as Saving Private Ryan on the scale here. So 1 to 10.
I gave it a 6.
All right. Anything under 5, and I really don't want to watch it. So you still might see it.
Yeah, I'd say about a 6, maybe a 6.5. I look at a lot of the gear wise, and they really did a good job on the gear. So
Yeah, I was gonna say like based on the trailer because I didn't see it. I'm like a 7 at wanting to see it.
Sit down, crack a few beers, one of those to watch. Not too serious.
Right, there looks like there's some
Yeah.
tongue-in-cheek humor in there. It looks very violent, but also with this tongue-in-cheek humor. So
Yeah. Definitely a dark comedy.
yeah,
dark comedy sounds like a good description.
yeah. I know we talked before. If you like Quentin Tarantino, it's a pretty good movie to watch. If you kind of enjoy Quentin Tarantino kind of humor and gore and stuff like that.
All right. And speaking of gore, the next up we have is Susu, Sisu, the story of the Finnish soldier, ex-soldier who finds gold and works his way through Nazi territory to go bring his gold in
On a
and kills everyone on the way.
On a gold theme, huh?
Right, another gold theme. I'll go on this one because I saw this one and it was entertaining, but at the end I was like, "What? Why?" I had so many questions. So, and a lot of times I found myself saying, "Oh, that's bullshit. That's bullshit." But I was entertained, and that's it. It was an entertaining movie.
Yeah, I've heard it's John Wick, but in a World War II setting ish.
Anyone else see it?
No, I haven't watched it yet, but I probably will.
It's
Yeah.
it's literally John Wick Studios, same studio as John Wick.
Oh well, there you
Yeah,
go.
it's on the list to watch.
Yeah, so and it has these like that scene they're shooting at him. He's blocking it with a little shield. They could shoot his legs. They don't. He kills a lot of people in weird ways, but it's got a lot. If you for the we're a MILSURP show. There's lots of cool German guns in this one. Right there's a
Oh.
German sniper rifle. I see.
Although the tanks are completely off.
Yeah.
Those are Soviet tanks.
I was like, yeah, we have a Soviet tank with the what is it, the RPD or
The Dushka.
the Dushka.
It looked like a Dushka.
I
Yeah.
was like, really, we're running a Dushka?
All right, so like what level of importance is it the uniforms being correct or the vehicles being correct? Like where do you draw the line with all right, this is ridiculous. Do you care? Like I don't care if the vehicles are wrong because I know how hard it is to get these vehicles. But it should if you're CGI in them, they shouldn't be wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
right.
care about vehicles a little bit, like tanks, like when it's like blatantly obvious. For uniforms, I'm not knowledgeable enough. As long as it isn't blatantly obvious, which I'm sure I know more than the average person seeing a movie, but I'm not a uniform guy, so I won't notice like gear being in the wrong place and things like that.
Yeah, I don't notice the gear and I don't and the vehicles I give them the pass. But I just don't like when they don't there's no recoil when they shoot, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that kind of like gun handling and like shooting and the guns themselves, I'll notice that immediately, just about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost depends on the movie. If it's more like a humor slash like these last two movies, I wouldn't care as much. But like if we're talking 1917,
Right.
some of these other movies where they're spending big bucks on it, I kind of have to get a little more picky on those. And like I'll talk about it later. There's parts where I'll watch multiple times to try to pick. I'll watch it as just a viewer just to watch the movie, and I'll watch it back to pick those things out. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it can get pretty
Yeah.
insane on, and I'm doing that on a current series right now. So
Also, like, if it's a movie that's like portraying something that actually happened, I think it's more important to get the details right, as opposed to like something that's made up.
yeah,
You know.
And
There's a-
something that like gets the extra details that like most normal movies wouldn't normally get gets like extra points in my book. For example, like
Yeah.
Jojo Rabbit, they had like Volkssturmgewehrs and things because it was the end of the war and it was all the Volkssturm people, and like it was an SS guy and he had an MP-28, not an MP-40 because they had different supply lines and stuff like that. You can pick out, and that makes me appreciate it more because I actually thought about that.
Cool. And there's some movies that get the guns wrong. I was watching clips from Patton, and they had all the wrong guns. The Germans had all Spanish Mausers. Is it the same deal with that? If it's like a high budget like Spielberg movie, he better get all the fucking guns right. Or do you appreciate that it's hard to get 7,000 guns for all the extras that they're filming with?
I can appreciate when they do it right for sure, and like I kind of expect them to if they're high budget. I mean, you don't have to have 7,000 of the things. You only got to have like 5 for close-ups or whatever, and then just everybody else gets CGI, or they have a rifle but they're 200 meters away and you can't really tell what it is.
You're spending their CGI budget now? How
Oh, yeah.
expensive that is?
I'm great at spending other people's money.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like, this is actually a pretty cool information. Like for instance, Saving Private Ryan. Do you get the big money there? They actually use the Irish Army as all the extras.
Whoa.
And they actually gave them all, if you weren't within the first 30 feet, 40, 50 feet, you had a rubber grant.
Yeah.
Oh.
I actually personally have one. It's such a cool gun. It looks just like the real thing,
Cool.
but it's rubber, and it's got actual web sling on it. And the only way you know it was used in the film, there's a little stamp code with a number on it. And that was the only movie that did that. So
Yeah, so there should be more of that, I think.
yeah, absolutely. And it's rubber. How hard is it to 3D print resin stuff anymore and make rubber guns anymore? It should be pretty easy.
Right. So now there's no excuse.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to jump out of our era a little bit because it is a very popular movie. Napoleon just came out, and I did just see it. Did anyone else see it?
Yeah, I seen it.
I have been meaning to see it, but I wasn't able to the time I got tickets for it, so I gotta get around to seeing that one.
It's got a 6.5 on IMDb currently. Like, people aren't liking it. But again, from a MILSURP standpoint and from a history standpoint, you definitely have to check it out. They go through a lot of the history, and I watched it online with YouTube and Google next to me, looking up all the stuff. They were pretty close with a lot of things, but I don't know about that whole Josephine shit that they had going on. Dylan, what'd you think of the Josephine cucking angle?
Drama. The cuck angle. Well, I mean, that's part of his story. So I'm like, I know a lot of people aren't into that, but I feel like they really focused on that part, and all of this, they just like glossed over all the stuff that history people will be into.
Right. Like, it was a movie about a guy and his wife working out a long distance relationship, and like, it was not about Napoleon rising to power and, taking over the world almost, or Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this blue tint that was just, by the end of the movie, I was done with it. Maybe because I kept pausing it,
Yeah.
but the blue tint, it's a very blue tint.
Do you remember the part where the guy had a telescope on top of his musket or whatever?
Well, it's cool.
That's pretty ridiculous.
It looked cool.
It did.
So yeah, he was the sniper. And
Yeah, I don't
yeah, everyone was very young. The actors were very young, and I looked it up, and the real people were pretty young. But it kind of takes me out of it sometimes when the leaders of all these countries look like they're 16. But whatever. And then you have Napoleon. He's looking old, much older than he was. But that's Joaquin. So it's another one of the war movie must-sees, but not that good.
So I haven't seen it yet.
Could be better.
Does he actually do they show in the movie him getting exiled to St. Helena?
Yes.
Okay, that's one thing, because that's one thing a ton of people don't know about, but it's good that they covered that.
Yeah, that's where they don't do much, but that's where he is at the end. And then he passes on, and we get the story of his sad love forever now. Poor guy. I mean, I didn't know, I know the stories of his notes and letters and everything, but geez, it could have been a side story. All right, we got another one here from this year, and it was the Reveille. It was a movie that one of our friends of the show, Mike B, is associated with, and it's another. These guys they're low budget; they don't have any money, and they put together a pretty good movie. I thought I think, did we watch it together, or I watched it with a few of the guys?
Yeah, we watched it one part of it at least one
Yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah, and they used real German speakers, and the actors were great. There was a lot of good to it. If this is the guy's, I don't know the details, if it's his first work or whatever, but it definitely fit in with the rest of the movies. It was nothing like you go, what the hell's this?
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a rave.
For a very low budget, it definitely punched above its weight class, I'd say.
There you go. I'm saying, I'm not doing it justice. He's going to get mad at me. I'm trying to say compliments.
It's hard. It's hard to tell the truth because I know he's probably gonna listen to this, but like it really had a what am I trying to say?
The Cave.
It could yeah, it could have been a really good movie, but it really stalled out when they went in the cave. It seems like I feel like the movie could have been a lot better if that cave scene wasn't so long.
Yeah, it did kind of feel like they ran out of money at the end and said, let's just film the rest in the cave.
Yeah.
But for the cave scene, they did the best they could with that whole scene there. That was
Yeah.
it was just a little,
Yeah, I've never made a movie, so I don't know.
no, it
But
was
the gear and stuff and the guns, they did such a good job on.
right. As far as how it looked, the procedures of the guys, how they acted, it was all very professional and looked great. And these guys all know their gear, so there's no way they have wrong shit.
Well, actually, I'll say this: I reenacted with some of these guys, so I know they know their stuff. So
There you go. And we had our Austrian friend listening to the voices. Actually, remember he said some of them are native German speakers.
Yep.
So you get A for effort. You get at least it gets a 6.3 on IMDb, and I'll give it at least that. Napoleon has 6.5, and that was $400 million to make.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6.5 too.
And as a compliment, I want to see the next one that they put out. It's what they learned and what they come up with after this. So it was pretty good. There was a lot of, like, we was talking about Betrayal and Condor's Nest, and there was a movie called The Devil's Men. These were terrible. I wouldn't even talk about them now. I was gonna say how bad they are, and I'm like, they're just bad.
Well, now you mentioned them.
Sorry,
can't
guys.
believe you brought up Condor's Nest. Oh my god,
We don't know them, at least. Oh, and 3 Days of Malay and Thousand Plane Raid. Those are two. Look up on your own, people. Terrible looking. They got IMDb 1.5 and
Damn, that's
2.7.
That's almost impressive.
All right. We got one more here for 23, and it was really in 22, but I saw it in 23, so it's going in. All Quiet on the Western Front, the latest edition. It's a 7.8 on IMDb, whereas the earlier ones got higher rankings. So I'm pretty sure we all saw this, right?
Yep.
So again, do you guys agree with that ranking of a 7.8, knowing that Oppenheimer is an 8.4 and Reveille's a 6.3?
I think it needs to be in the eights. That's me personally, though.
Warhorse is 7.2.
Yeah, I agree. I'd give it an 8.
I guess it depends on what they're grading on, which I know they're going to touch on this. I'd say it's a very good war movie, but for a movie, if they had just changed the title, because if it's trying to be about the book, they missed that.
Right. The people rating it, a lot of them are angry because they did go off from the book again. And so it's different from the book. It's different from the other movies. So it's a whole different thing.
But as a war movie, I definitely liked it. I like how they showed just the ridiculous machine of war and how industrialized it all was.
And like with Private Ryan's the one I point out to people for World War II. I've been pointing out this one lately to my friends for World War I instead of like 1917 or some the Kubrick Paths of Glory crazy one. So I
would agree.
I
That's
like it.
that's the one to go to as far as somebody wanting to learn what it's like in the trenches of World War One, what they went through. That's the one I send them to anymore. Is the new All Quiet on the Western Front. I still personally like the older ones better, but sometimes it's hard to watching an older movie can be hard sometimes because
Right.
we've grown up with these new action-packed movies all the time. Some of the older movies are just so hard to follow, but yeah, if someone wants to learn about World War One, that's where I send them now. So.
Yeah, the 1929 one was surprisingly pretty good. A little slow, but really good. I haven't seen the 70s one.
Oh yeah, it was good. It was when I saw it as a kid, it scared me. I didn't want anything to. Every movie scared me as a kid, so I didn't want anything to do with that war. Hell with that.
I remember the 70s one being a little campy, corny almost. But
yeah,
it wasn't bad.
There was a little cheesy factor. And that's the one that had the notorious, they used all Turk Mausers And
Oh yeah.
like I said, I was given passes before. It's hard to get guns, but they're using them in the boot camp with the guy, with the training right in close up, and it's all Turkish Mausers, so it's right in your face as a collector. That's wrong. That's wrong.
And that's when they were cheap.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
right.
want to know for
Yeah,
the
right.
I want to know for the new one where they get all the Gewehr 98s at.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
they're all true Gewehr 98s.
No, you
I'm
know
like,
now they were probably all
Mhm.
rubber.
no, it's I can distinctly tell rubber gun from a real gun in a movie. Those are legitimate because they're working the bolts in them.
Yeah, and one time the
Right.
safety flag is in the middle.
Yeah, it's like, where did you get these? Like, what warehouse in Europe did these have sitting in? So I want to know. It's like, can those come over to the U.S. so we can buy them up, please?
And I saw a video where a guy said that, like the guns were all correct and a lot of the uniforms, everything, but the tanks were the wrong tanks or something. So most of it was
Yeah.
correct, but the vehicles were where they screwed up or something.
Yeah, that was such an interesting choice because that's like 4 down the list of like the known tanks of World War One.
Yeah.
It's like a weird one. Then they
Yeah.
picked that. Like everyone knows the British tanks and then the Renault FTs, but hardly anyone knows about those like weird French ones. I even forgot what they're called.
And they had like multiple of them. Yeah, the Charmand.
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot.
it.
I know it's a Charmand.
Yeah, I don't know my tanks enough, but I saw the complaints from the guys who do know their tanks. They were mad. So yeah, that was a good one. That was like the best to me. That was like the best of the year. I mean, I'm even better than Napoleon and Blood and Gold, even if I didn't see it.
That one. Wait, did that one come out in 2020?
Well, it was the end of 22.
Oh,
threw it in.
there was also Nardvik. That was like it was like
That
December.
was 22 as well.
Yeah,
Narvik, yeah, Hitler's first defeat.
that was surprisingly good. I like that one a lot. It was a little,
I did like Narvik
it was a
too.
little
Yeah,
slow here and there, but that crag action though.
Right, yeah. Narvik was the Norwegian town where the Germans had to use the port to get their, what was it, the ore from the mountains or whatever,
Yeah, they're
and
stealing their
Yep.
iron.
the iron and lots of good MILSURP. Pretty cool. Surprisingly good acting.
All those ones that are from World War II that are based up in what was it? There's King's Day? About Denmark?
Oh,
Or
I don't know.
King's there's a couple like other good ones that are about like the German trying to come in, and then I can't remember what those are called. Those are also, I think there's 2 other ones. Like one's Danish, I think, and then one's can't remember what those are.
Are you thinking of April 9th?
April
The
9th,
movie
yes.
when the Germans invade Denmark?
Yes.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
Pretty good. And then I think it's King's Speech.
I don't know. Check it out. That was a pretty good year when All Quiet at the Western Front finished 2022 up, and Narvik. That's why I took him for 23 because 23 wasn't as exciting. And we did have Oppenheimer.
I think I saw a MILSURP in Oppenheimer. And then one.
I didn't. All right, boys and girls, and all the other things you could be nowadays. It's time for America's favorite game, MILSURP Trivia. So, as always, we do the trivia as a fun way to bring up some interesting MILSURP firearms to talk about. And we're going to try to share some info with everyone, little tidbits that maybe you could remember and sound smart to your friends. So, today's topic, of course, will be MILSURP in movies. And we have movie trivia. So, we usually don't keep score, but should we go in order and try to keep score today? There's only a few.
Do it.
Might be able to. All right. So, I'm going to do it alphabetically. DKN.
Perfect.
That's the order. All right. So, we have 2 categories. One is MILSURP in movies, and the other one is Steven Spielberg movies. Here we go. Dylan, you're up first, and you have a Steven Spielberg one. Oh, wait, no. This is the demo question. In 75, Spielberg directed the movie Jaws. Chief Brody used this gem of a rifle to finally take out that bastard.
Smile, you son of a bitch!
So, this is a sample of the question and the answer, because I had to make even number of questions. The answer is, of course, the M1. A lot of people don't know. I've asked people straight up, what gun does he use to shoot Jaws? No, I don't know, hunting rifle. But no. All right. So we'll start here then. You each get 3 questions, but we'll start with Dylan first. In the 72 movie Joe Kidd, while escaping, Clint Eastwood steals this recognizable German pistol chambered in 7.63 by 25 millimeters and shows us some Hollywood magic as his 10-shot pistol fires over 30 rounds and even locks on empty several times before ever needed to be reloaded. And a hint is it was used to assassinate both the Spanish Prime Minister Eduardo Dato and the King of Yugoslavia in 34.
He used a C96, and it actually had the stock on it too in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he did have the stock. And I've seen so many C96s
Yeah.
in movies, and they never have the stock. I'm telling you. But it is pretty funny. And I watched the clip, and he just shoots all like it's a machine gun. He's just shooting all over the place, never reloading.
Maybe he had a Snellfeuer mag.
Yeah, right. Wait, do we see it there? No, I don't see it. All right, Kelly, you're up, and you get a Spielberg.
Ooh.
And they actually go in order from earliest to latest. In 81, Spielberg directed Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indy was originally envisioned to carry a Colt 1911, of course. But at the time, 9mm blanks were the most reliable, so the filmmakers used both Belgian and Canadian versions of this model pistol instead, whose name derives from its 13-round magazine capacity being substantially more than most contemporaries, including that Colt 1911.
That would be the Browning High Power.
Oh, snap. So, yeah, and the interesting thing is it would be 20 years before the high power would be commercially available for sale in the U.S., but maybe he got it elsewhere, Indy. So, as a pistol idiot, how does the Browning compare to the 1911?
I mean, it's the final gift of our Lord and Savior, John M. Browning.
Well, is it an improvement or an alternate line?
Yes.
All right. Nick, you're up. And To Kill a Mockingbird from 62, Sheriff Tate brings a sporterized military rifle to Atticus Finch to shoot a rabid dog, and it happened to be one of these models, a former U.S. issued rifle that was a big sporterized hunting rifle favorite at the turn of the century.
Craig Jorgensen.
Ding, ding. Yeah, he
I'd have-
kills the dog, and everyone knows he's a hell of a shot.
So we read that book in high school, and then we watched the movie afterwards. And I was still a big firearms history buff in school, and when I was in high school. Buddy's sitting next to me, I'm like, "Hey, that's a Craig Jorgensen rifle." Well, we're sitting in class watching the movie, so
I think I did the same thing.
I think we all did that one way or another.
I'm like, ooh, Craig.
It's fun seeing something like that in these movies. All right, Dylan, you're up. Spielberg. Actor Denholm Elliott, a.k.a. Marcus Brody, was knocked out in a Venice library with the butt of a C96 pistol in this 89 Steven Spielberg directed movie. So what movie did
Wow, I don't
he
know.
get clubbed? Ooh, we got someone.
Wait, this is Godfather. It's The Godfather.
It is Indiana
Oh.
Jones
Oh,
and
what?
the Last Crusade.
Wow.
That's the guy, his sidekick
Was-
guy.
Was there a C96 in The Godfather? I'm thinking something else.
I don't know.
This is when they're going down to the tunnel full of rats.
X marks the spot.
I can't believe I got that wrong.
We got him.
Nice. Got one.
All right, Kelly. Time for a comedy here. Austin Powers franchise, the James Bond inspired pistol that Austin carries for the majority of the time is this model 380 ACP pistol, developed following the Gun Control Act of 68 to meet the length and weight import requirements.
That is the PPK.
It's the PPK-S,
What?
the one that was made to meet the requirements. Different slide on it or something. It's a whole thing about it.
That was a tricky one.
Got him. Austin Powers, I haven't seen those in a while. I wonder if they hold up.
Probably couldn't be made in today's time. Let's just say
No.
that.
Yeah. All right, Nick, you're up with a Spielberg. Oh, in 98, Spielberg directed the epic World War II movie Saving Private Ryan. And this is the official designation of the scoped rifle that Private Jackson here is using when, spoiler, if you haven't seen it yet, he meets his demise in the tower. The tank looks up and takes him out. Big spoiler.
Oh, I'm trying to remember the actual designation. Gosh,
Oh
dang
shit!
it.
I might get.
Get all three.
all three on the same
Well,
round.
that should be the 1903 A4, but the scope he's showing in that scene would never go on the 03 A4. That's just my kind of nerdiness coming out on that.
Well, I do put information about the scopes in there. If you want to go into the scopes,
It should be a 2.5 power.
well, do you want to say an A4?
Weaver. It is the lineman. Yeah, it's the 1903 A4 is the rifle.
It is. Yeah, look, it's mostly has the M73 Weaver sight.
Yeah, and like that says the USMC one, that would have been on the regular 03 rifle, not the 03 A3 was what the 03 A4 was made out of.
All right, Dylan, you're up. In Mad Max Fury Road, this Russian-designed semi-automatic rifle was a favorite of Charlize Theron and is even shown being loaded by its 10-round stripper clips. But you could tell based on the stamped trigger guard and short barrel lug that it isn't Russian-made, but is made by this country and is known as this model.
It's got to be an SKS or Chinese SKS. Type 56.
A 56 SKS?
Yeah.
A 56
Oh, nice.
SKS. Check that out. With this wooden grip on it.
Hell of a scope.
Giant scope. No
Right.
bayonet. Did anyone see that movie? Mad Max Fury Road?
Oh yeah, that was a good movie.
Weird as hell, huh? A lot of crazy shit in that. Very interesting is the word I keep using for that. All right. Kelly, you're up.
Uh-oh.
In 2011, Spielberg directed the World War I movie War Horse. Oh, in the 2011 directed movie War Horse, German motorcycle troops are accurately armed with not full-length rifles, but with these carbines that were adopted in 1908.
I just bought one, so I should know this. It is a Car
Oh,
98A, and for you, Tom, an AZ.
Hey, I didn't put a Z anywhere here. I didn't even joke about it. But for the other 90%, it's an AZ, but it's the Car 98A. All right. Nick, last one here. The majority of the German soldiers in the World War II movie Patton were not using K98K rifles, but were using these other similar Mausers from the era, identified by their straight bolt, longer handguard, and an auxiliary bayonet lug for older bayonets. Very similar to that on the Argentine 1909s.
Spanish M43s.
Ding ding. So yeah, I was watching a clip of this and I happened to see it looked like Joe Rogan, this dude. I happened to see that. And yeah, you can see them close up and it's like those aren't K98s. Well, Nick, you look like you're the winner here because you didn't get any wrong.
Nice.
All right, you're now the co-host of the podcast.
All right. You're in. Hold on, let's edit.
Let me kick me out real quick.
Welcome, as always, here with my pal Nick. What's up?
How we doing?
All right. Very good, guys. Stumped you a little bit with a couple of the things there, but we did pretty good. Now we're going to talk a little bit. We're almost done here. We're going to talk a little bit about the 2024 upcoming movies, and there's really not much from the big studios coming out this year. Well, not in the criteria that we collect. So there's a number of smaller films and some cool low budget B movies like Warblade and Escape from Germany. We were watching those trailers. They're cool. They're low budget. They have MILSURP in them, but I don't know. There's nothing special about them so far. So I showed the boys a movie called Captain Miller, and it's like the Indian Suzu. It's like a crazy Indian fellow who goes off against the British and seems to single-handedly, right? It looks like he single-handedly kills everybody or something. Like if you watch the trailer for Captain Miller, he's got bazookas and whatnot. So from watching the trailer, I'm like at an 8.5 for this. Where are you guys at now for wanting to see this?
I'd say I'm at the same place. It looks typical
Yeah.
Bollywood, but Bollywood can be pretty awesome sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, after seeing the exploding bodies, I got to see it.
Right. There's a scene where there's dead bodies or tied up bodies on poles, and they blow up in like the biggest explosion, like napalm from a plane. I don't know what that is. They even do that kind of
Also, that
explosion.
Lewis gun action.
Right. He's running around with a Lewis gun. And if you look at the trailers a couple of times, you'll see he kills people with like 15, 20 different weapons. He's got
Yeah.
knives and handguns and revolvers and
All kinds of stuff. I saw a Stin at one point.
so the actor's name is Dhanush, and I looked him up, and he's known for his lavish lifestyle and is very famous in India, so in Bollywood. Check that one out. And they were speaking English in it, so it's gonna make its way here. And then we were actually looking at a couple that coming out later in the year, a couple of movies that I forgot to even put on the list. A couple of weird ones. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is another weird one that we watched the trailer for, and it was Superman, Henry Cavill. And it said based on a true story, but it was a bunch of psychopaths going crazy. Looked pretty good.
Oh yeah, that one's definitely on the watch list for this year.
Yeah, that's a Guy Ritchie one. But that one, that's another 8.5. After seeing that craziness and that Superman, I never seen Henry Cavill like that. That was pretty cool. So yeah, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and then we watched the trailer for Before Dawn, which was finally another Australian World War I movie. But I don't know much about that because I forgot about those. But what I do know about is it's a little bit out of the MILSURP range, but the upcoming movie Civil War I wanted to discuss. I don't know if you guys heard about it. It's the movie about the United States going into a civil war in 2024. And some people are 10 with their hype to see this. Now, I want to see it, but I don't know if I care if I see it. Where are you guys at this?
Yeah, probably a 6 or 7. I want to see it, but I don't have high hopes.
Right. Like I was hoping for more of the story of the Civil War, but it looks like it's going to be a lot more just like emotional action and not action. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like it follows some family, and like I love alternate history kind of stuff, so this would be right up my alley if they covered more of that side of it, like the how it happened and like what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. That's the part. Like, how does California and Texas work together
Yeah,
to succeed together? Like that would be a great story.
Yeah, we got New York and Texas working together right here.
Yeah. But they're starting here while it's already going on, and I hope they're not going to preach to us about something. There's always somebody preaching about something.
It'll be interesting to see like what the divide is, like, how they play it out.
Yeah, like and I wonder if it's going to have like an ending to it, or if they'll get to where they're getting, and then the world is still in the middle of the Civil War and nothing got resolved. So you can't tell from the trailer. I've tried to find that out. So I don't know if we're going to get a resolve. Might be one of those. Well, there's some burning embers here, but in that video, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely like a 7 or 8 on the. Definitely want to see it. It's following the. That's right. It's not a family. It's the press crew. So that's kind of more interesting than some lame family.
All right, but so the Civil War. So we're kind of hyped about it because it's interesting to see how this guy, the Ex Machina director guy, is going to handle this. And I haven't seen Kirsten Dunst in 12 years, so it was nice to see her still alive. But the last one to come out that is actually out, and we're cheating again because it's TV and not movies, is the Masters of the Air, which they were talking about this for a few years, right? Before COVID or during COVID. And
Oh, they've been talking about this movie for 10 years.
all right, this is the one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so I've seen more than one spot. They said it is meant to be the companion, the band of brothers in the Pacific. And so I guess it is, and it's the air crewman, and it is terrible to be in those airplanes. Ugh. Anyone else see the first 3 episodes?
I need to pony up and pay for Apple, so not yet.
I've seen them all twice.
Yeah, I watched the first 3.
All right.
I guess just me.
This is the
Yeah.
series I've watched where I've watched the first time as just a good viewer watching it for the series, and I've gone back and watched it again to nitpick and pick out the parts kind of correct, kind of incorrect, but I could go for days kind of explaining
All right,
some
but how
interesting features.
accurate is it on a whole? Is it way off or is it close?
No, it's pretty close. There's a lot of features that are pretty incredible, like the guard shack is exactly set up like it would have been during the war. There's the scene, not ruin it for anybody, but their first time going up on a mission, you see them packing the silk maps, rolling them up like they should be. That's exactly correct how they were rolled up. And for it to take it
Ooh.
to the level where they're actually showing the silk invasion or the escape maps is pretty incredible. They're Mae West life preservers, the yellow life preservers they wear. They nailed them in this movie. All one knows whenever those hit the resale market later on, I know I want to get one. I will say, like Midway, they absolutely botched those ones. They're not even close to correct. But there's a lot of really good stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that's like kind of corny. The CGI, there's spots of the CGI that's kind of really bad.
I saw a heat-seeking missile in the trailer.
Yeah, there's a spot where it looks like they're shooting a missile, which is a little odd.
It's weird.
There's a spot, not ruining anything here, where a guy gets kind of thrown out of a aircraft that's going down, and he hits one of the engine propellers from the plane behind him, and you see the blood go flying all over the wing. I'm like, really? Do we have to take it that far? And I don't know. But other than that,
Yeah,
it's a good
it
series
was.
so far.
I will say the first episode was really a lot more gory than I thought. I
Mhm.
watched it with my kid, and I was like, "Whoa!" The guy's face got blown off in one part
Oh
of it.
yeah.
Jeez.
I will say
Yeah.
there's a lot of if you are used to Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, it starts and it runs completely different than those two series. With those two series, we kind of start off, you learn all the characters right away, and then it just rolls through there. This, you get thrown right into the middle of it.
Nice.
You learn
I
a
like
few of the you learn a few of the characters, but other than that, you just get thrown right into it. And
All right, so where
roll
do you
with it.
put this one? Band of Brothers, The Pacific, and this. How do you rank them so far?
Ooh. Band of Brothers is always number one for me.
Nice.
I need to watch Pacific again. I think it would still go Pacific to this 3. I think we're still so early enough in it.
Yeah, it's still
There's
early.
still a lot of stuff to come from this series, and
But you know what topics excite you more, and
yeah. And like for me, Band of Brothers will always be one because I reenact Airborne, so it's one that
cool.
I collect a lot of that stuff. So it's cool to see it. Like I've watched it 3 times the complete series through since it's come back to Netflix, just to kind of see what else is out there. Kind of really trying to hone on my reenacting uniform, kind of nail it down, because they really did a good job on the uniforms then, and they've done a really good job now. Like they had especially, I was reading some stuff, the sheep jackets that the bombers are wearing. They had to have a special person make all those jackets for these guys, because you're not going to be able to wear an original one because those guys were just tiny. So they've had to find a special maker to make all those jackets nowadays, and they've done a really good job so far on a lot of this stuff. So, but we ended up
it looks great.
Yeah. So
But now the Elvis guy. How do you feel about the Elvis lead guy? My thing was just he doesn't sound like Elvis really, but he's like a wet sock. He's kind of, I don't know. The other characters are more lively than he is in this.
It's just the way his persona has always been, though, I think. Because his first big role was the Elvis movie. And I think we're going to have a major, either this coming episode, which comes out episode 4, I believe. Yeah, episode 4 will release tomorrow as a recording. So I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen here in tomorrow's episode or next week's. I think you're going to see some big changes come. We got left in a good spot last week, so I'll be interested to see where it kind of goes. And like we still haven't seen any of the Tuskegee Airmen that they showed in the trailer.
Right.
We haven't seen any of like the POW stuff yet.
Yeah, so far they did a couple of bombing runs. One it was too cloudy. They didn't even bomb, which is so frustrating when he said, "All right, let's dump the bombs in the canal and come home." And I'm like, fuck.
That's how they did. That's actually how they did it. No joke.
Damn it.
So what I was wondering was, is if they're gonna show any of the fighter support or fighter escorts coming in, because right now they don't have any. So I was wondering if that's like part of the story.
It will be.
Cool.
So that's like
Oh,
what
yeah.
when you see the Tuskegee Airmen.
New
That's what they started out as, was the escorts. So I think that's where we'll see the escorts come in play. Because of course when they first started doing bomb missions, they didn't do any escorts. And that's where they started to.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Like in the series where you talk, but when they're talking to those British guys, yeah, we bomb at night. You can't.
Yeah.
You have a hard time seeing us at night.
You guys are crazy
Yeah, it's
going
not
in the day.
accurate, but exactly.
Well, when they're up there doing these, what are those? The majority of those bombers, B what?
B-17s.
B-17s.
17s, right? Okay.
Yep.
So they're in these B-17s, and then the flak comes up, and it surrounds. It looks like for a mile and a half around them. They're surrounded by flak at every altitude. How are they supposed to? Was that realistic that they could keep doing that?
Oh yeah.
It just seemed like, oh
Yep.
my god, like how are they even supposed? Even the
Yeah.
escorts would be getting shot.
And well, you
Mhm.
parts where, and this is kind of going into the niche part. A lot of times the escorts would kind of peel off once they get close to the bombing target, so the escorts don't get hit by the flak. They're really there to just get them to the target, is what the escorts.
Look like a fun job would be to fine tune those flak guns and be like, all right, let's have these shooting low. By the time they get over here,
Yeah.
we'll shoot them.
Yeah.
I will say that the scenes, they show a couple short scenes where they show the flak guns and like the crews, and it's pretty good. Like
Mm-hmm.
it looks good.
Yeah. The part I
Yeah,
kind
right.
of like
Everything
now
looks real.
is when they're showing in the kind of like the meeting room before the meetings. They're kind of breaking it down. You're gonna have your high
Yeah.
levels, you're gonna have your medium levels, then you have your low levels, and that's something you don't hear a lot about.
Yeah, I rewound. I had to rewind 3 times to get the plan down exactly. And then they're going to Africa. I'm like, all right, wait, what are we doing? Who's going where? All right, that was always my problem with airplane movies. Was it's always just like the camera on the guy in the chair in the cockpit. But they do a pretty good job here with the navigator and showing you, making you feel like you're really on the airplane. Like it doesn't look super fake or CGI like everything else. You could usually tell.
No, yeah, they've done a really good job. But there are scenes where the CGI is kind of hokey, but that's like when my dad and I watched it. It's one of those things. He's like, "Oh, why can't they use me more B-17 actual B-17s?" I'm like, Dad, there's only maybe 8 in flying condition left
They
in the
keep
world.
They keep
So-
crashing them too.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
shit.
we can stop that now. So
Also, in any movie that has B-17s in it, there's always a scene where somebody gets stuck in that
Yeah,
vault area,
that's-
and I think they already got it out of the
yeah,
way.
I was going to mention that.
Well, they did a good job of telling you how cold it is and showing you how cold it is up there. So,
it's freezing
It's
up
damn
there.
cold.
That's why they're sheepskin wool jackets. I don't personally own one, but it's on the list to get of World War II items. I know some people that do own them, and it's insane how thick those jackets are.
Cool. I need one now.
Because they made a jacket and a pair of coveralls. But it's a cool, actually, the scene where they're getting ready for their first mission. You see them putting on those blue suits. And what those is, those actually plugged into the aircraft, and they were kind of like heat jackets.
Yeah.
Oh,
Something
cool.
you don't hear much about, but that's something cool you see as well in the series, that they actually show the heat jackets they're putting on, or like the insulate, kind of like where we have insulated thermal underwear and a thermal top. That's kind of what was there. It would send, there were coils that would just heat up and heat your whole body up.
Sweet. All right, so I know you reenact it, Nick, but what would you rather do now? Would you rather be the Band of Brother guys jumping out in the airplane in the masses of the air, or storming the Japanese islands in the Pacific?
Oh, give me Normandy, Europe all day. I give all those guys that fought in Pacific credit. It just was so filthy. The amount of diseases that was over there, just, I couldn't do it. I know few gentlemen that served in the Pacific, and it's just, what they saw blows out of the water what the guys in Europe saw.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dylan, what about you?
Yeah, I'm with you too. That was brutal.
Kelly, what about you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
One day, someone's gonna say they're gonna want to be in that plane, or they're gonna want to fight the Japanese. I don't know. One day,
I listened
some
to
tough guy.
I listened to another podcast. It's all like first person war accounts, so like a lot of World War II vets and like the ones from that fought in the Pacific. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I like how they covered, especially going on into Pacific, talking about Pacific, where they talk about Sledge there at the end. They show the PTSD side of it because what they saw, and that's the
Right.
way it needs to be because they did have it way worse than the guys in Europe did. So,
Right, that transformation from the beginning to the end for that kid.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody gets a chance, read his book. It's a very good book.
I want to. My list of books I have to read, it's 16 pages long now. Oh,
You know what I use? And this isn't a promo or a shouting out. I used Audible, and when you're at work, you just put a book on and
Yep.
you listen, and it keeps your day going good. And
Yeah, me
it's
too.
the only way to get through your book list.
my only problem is I'll hear something and then I need to rewind because it'll catch like, wait, what were they saying?
Yeah.
Like I'll hear it after the fact, and then I'm always rewinding and it drives me nuts. I should try it again though. Like I like when I used to do that and I used to put it on like 1.5 speed and just blow through things. So it worked out well. All right, so nobody picks the Japanese, no one picks that, but yeah. So the episode 4 is coming out, and do you know how many episodes altogether for that series? Do you know?
Don't
9.
know. That's what I was thinking. It was 9, but
Yep,
That's it.
there's supposed to be 9.
Ugh,
all right. So stuff's
there's
gonna
at
be
least
really
15.
coming quick here soon. Then
All right, so here's a question for the group: if they were to add a 4 to the kind of similar mini series, what theater would you want, or what setting?
Ooh.
Maybe North Africa.
that's what I was
or
thinking. 'Cause a lot of
Italy.
those guys that started in North Africa went into Italy, so that would be a good one to go through.
That's good. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm just trying to think of what divisions you could use. Third ID, you couldn't. Well, maybe you could use Third ID.
When I asked the ChatGPT what conflicts, it said the Korean War and the Soviet-Afghan War. That's a little outside. And countries, it said Poland, China, and Canada.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
And battles, it says while D-Day and Stalingrad have been extensively covered, many lesser-known battles receive less attention. For example, the Battle of Kursk, one of the largest tank battles in history. So I was thinking, did they do a Kursk movie?
My answer was going to be like a tanker version.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's been movies about Kursk, but not any like well-known ones. I won't say good ones because there's probably a good one out there. They're all foreign,
Right,
pretty much.
right.
The Russians have made a ton of World War II movies about their kind of perspective.
Yeah, we need maybe another good Hurtgen Forest series because we had When Trumpets Fade.
Yeah, that'd be
That
cool.
was really the only one I can think of that was in Hurtgen. Think any other ones?
So what I thought we could. I made these prompts up and I put it into the air and I said, pretend that Spielberg's coming out with a new movie and he has an unlimited budget, and put in some famous actors and make a movie. And I had it make a movie for me, and it had Leonardo DiCaprio in there
Jeez.
and Christoph Waltz, and it wrote out a whole big movie. So I was thinking, if you answer these prompts, I could toss it into my thing here, and we could see what it comes up with for our own movie here. So, what year or years would you guys like to make a movie in?
Mm.
Say we could do what we said about
Yeah,
Africa.
do 1943.
You know, it'd be a good one. The French Indochina War
Maybe like
when the French are in Vietnam and all that.
Yeah, no one's really covered that.
You don't. Yeah, no one's really. You have that opening scene of We Were Soldiers, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And that took place from 46 to 54. So, like you say, 1950, 1952.
Do you guys remember the first like war movie you saw as a kid?
God.
As a child, I loved Pearl Harbor just because there was a lot of plane action. I would just skip through all like the love bullshit.
I love the love story.
I think the first ones I was exposed to was like my grandpa was watching like what the hell is it? The Big Red One, Green Beret, Dirty Dozen, stuff like that.
Yeah, those are good ones. I became a sucker for the Vietnam movies, and I always thought those guys were so cool with the cigarettes in their sleeve and performing, doing war crimes and all that. That was so cool.
Yeah.
I looked up to those guys.
Yeah. When I was a teenager, I loved Full Metal Jacket.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's always a good one.
All right, so hold on. I'm putting in to do the Africa campaign. So hold on. I have it all written out here though. And I'll tell it to pick a famous director. Last time it picked Tarantino for me. All right, let's see who the director is. Christopher Nolan. So the AI wrote the movie for us. We said we wanted an African movie. We got an African movie. Directed by Christopher Nolan. He's going to make up for Dunkirk, he said. He got Tom Hanks as Captain John Miller, guy leading his men through the desert terrain. Charlize Theron as Lieutenant Sarah Thompson. What? An intelligence officer tasked with decoding enemy communications. Idris Elba
Nice.
as Sergeant Marcus Johnson. And a surprise Tom Cruise cameo as Major Robert Smith, a daring fighter pilot, providing crucial air support. All right? And it is the Battle of El Alamein.
Wait a minute. Were the Americans even there?
Were we
They
even
were.
here? British American. Yeah, okay. It says
Okay,
introduction to the war-torn landscapes of North Africa in 43. The focus shifts to the pivotal Battle of El Alamein, where Allied forces, including Britain. There's got to be more details here. Okay, Marcus Johnson is
Okay,
Idris
El
Elba.
Alamein, it was really just the British and then their allies. The U.S. just did air support is all they did for El Alamein.
Okay.
Yeah, Idris Elba dies. So, I was fiddling around with this. You can actually get it to really like write. You can say write the first act like a real script, and you can actually write the whole script out and 100 pages and print it and go. So this El Alamein movie where Idris Elba dies and Tom Hanks leads everyone to safety at the end is cool name ideas: Desert Fury, Sands of Valor, Echoes in the Sand, or The War's Embrace.
Interesting.
Well, we could. Rommel would be in that movie then.
Right.
Probably.
That's what we got to do. You know, I'm going to work on it and get a real script going with Rommel, and we'll get it made.
Perfect.
I'm going to have a GoFundMe going for the African movie
A movie
with Rommel.
from the studios of MILSURP HQ.
But one other thing that the AI, I asked it quick some MILSURP questions. What was the top 3 best military-issued bolt-action rifles of World War One? And it was Gewehr 98, the SMLE, and the Mosin Nagant
What?
91.
Yeah, AI is not there yet.
So no 1917, no 1903. Okay.
Your jobs are safe, everyone.
I asked the best military-issued bolt actions of World War II. The Mosin 9130 first, the K98, and the Lee Enfield number 4. So maybe they only think the Russians, Germans, and UK were in the war.
Maybe you're thinking the top produced, you know.
Then I asked pistols of World War One. So what would you say is the best pistol of World War One? What do you think, Kel?
I mean,
World War One. You're the World War One guy.
it's boring, but it is the 1911.
Not according to AI.
No.
It's the Luger POA,
Yeah. They are pretty fun.
and then the Colt, and then one more. Can you guess?
Let's see, next semi-auto pistol. C96?
Nope.
On maybe?
It's a pistol I always wanted just because the name sounded cool. I had no idea what it was,
Ooh.
but I remember someone.
Ruby.
Yeah. I
Oh,
was like, that sounds cool.
they did make a lot of them.
It is. It is one of the pistols of World War One. I love shooting mine.
Well, the Luger PO8 was the best pistol of World War II as well, apparently.
Got a little bias going there.
And then the 1911 A1, and then the P38 is third. And then the age-old debate, the best semi-auto of World War II. The AI said the M1 Garand. I said Garand this time. The SVT 40 was second, and the Gewehr 43 was third.
I mean, obviously the SKS is the best.
Technically, yes.
And I cut the Mauser. I asked him what was the best Mauser crest because I'm a Mauser crest guy. I wanted some validation. It said the Mauser Oberndorf crest, which is just words. So that's not it. And then the best round to use in a Mauser rifle, 8mm Mauser, it said.
So it just gets the most popular of each category.
So that's that. All right, boys and girls. Let's recap here. We gave our opinions on those early World War I, World War II movies. I told you the shit I was sick of. Enough with the trench warfare and enough with Omaha Beach. No offense. Thank you for your service. I want to see Africa now. I'm all psyched. I got to look up some Rommel movies. We recapped the recent movies that came out. The All Quiet on the Western Front that came out, even though it was 22. We went into some of the hype films coming out with Civil War. And we've learned that even when we don't like a movie, we still kind of like it. We still watch it, at least. We went into the Masters of the Air, and that it holds its own, right? With Band of Brothers and the Pacific. It's the same quality and production, right? I think so. And we played some trivia. We toyed around with ChatGPT, saw how bad it is. And I think that's it. We're going to come back for MILSURP in Movies 2024-25 and recap these movies. If you ever want to email us, milsurphq@gmail.com. A lot of people email us a million different things, so it's funny. So keep doing it.
And for future episodes, we are planning on having a similar episode to this, but for books and video games. So keep an eye out for that eventually. No timeline.
Yeah, if you want to come on, you could go to the Patreon, and then you could come on and email. Maybe you could come on if you have something exciting to talk about too. So whatever. And thank you guys, Dylan, Nick. Appreciate hanging out
Thanks for having me.
and chit-chatting.
Thanks for having me as well.
And we'll have you back again, of course.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are our pals, so.
I think that about wraps it up.
Thank you, everyone. See yous.
See you.
See you.